again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. A new show is posted every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time. The audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out KELY1230.com for a station in your area. They're all over Nevada except in Clark County, but we're working on that one. Questions or comments, you can send me an email at bob@firedupmail.com. Again, that's bob@firedupmail.com. Or leave a message on my office recorder, 702-257-1060. That's 702-257-1060. If you don't leave contact information, I can't call you back. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, rarely truthfully or fully covered by any mainstream media. We always present a few for our listeners' education. Most are good shootings, some are questionable, sometimes they're just plain wrong, but they're all educational for people who keep or carry a firearm for self-defense. Individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law, so the advice given here might not apply to listeners in different jurisdictions. And stories that I use are often paraphrased for clarity by translation from police jargon, what I choose to call lawyer speak, or regional accents into more standard American English. The incidents are as reported, except the names of the participants are generally omitted. Stories are often paraphrased by translation from police jargon, lawyer speak, regional accents into American English. I had that twice on the outline. Look at that. Wow, how'd that happen? Anyway, this first story comes from 3TV CBS 5, reported on July 3rd, 2020 in Scottsdale, Arizona. 2 men are dead and a third was wounded and is in the hospital after an early morning shooting in Scottsdale. It happened just before 3 in the morning at the Circle K near 81st Street and Indian School Road, which is just east of Hayden Road, if you're familiar with Scottsdale. According to Sergeant Ben Holster of the Scottsdale Police Department, an armed man walked into the Circle K intending to rob the store. He fired several rounds at the clerk during the robbery when he was obtaining money, Sergeant Holster explained. While that was happening, another man, described as an innocent bystander, walked into the store. The suspect shot and killed him. Life is worth nothing anymore. A second bystander engaged the suspect in gunfire as the suspect left the store. The robbery suspect was killed at the scene. This second bystander was wounded but stayed at the scene and was later taken to the hospital. The clerk managed to escape out the back. He was not hurt. Detectives say the suspect had committed 2 other armed robberies earlier that same night. He robbed the Circle K at Loop 101 and Shea Boulevard just before midnight. The other robbery was a few minutes after 2 in the morning at a Mesa Circle K. The suspect fired his gun in both instances, but no one was hurt. Now, intervening to thwart a robbery is a courageous thing to do. Being sure of who the good guys are was obvious in this case, as the witness the robber murdering the first innocent bystander. While I always advise observing and waiting for police if possible, in this incident, the second bystander was clearly correct in his decision. The general public is getting tired of all these murders. The crime rate is skyrocketing, and I applaud this armed citizen's courage. This was a tough case, but when you see a murder, you're pretty sure who the good guy is and who the bad guy is, obviously. This next story comes from WSMV TV4, reported July 1st in Nashville, Tennessee. Police responded to a call about a shooting at a residence on Radnor Street, south of Thompson Lane in South Nashville. The homeowner told police he returned home from eating breakfast and found the screen from his kitchen window on the ground. Police say he drew his pistol and began checking rooms in the house. According to the news release from Metro Police, the homeowner reportedly encountered the 27-year-old intruder in the bathroom and shot him after the intruder lunged at him, grabbing for his gun. The 27-year-old intruder died from his injuries at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. The district attorney's office is reviewing the case, as they always do. My comments on this, unlike the last case, here it appears there was clearly time to call 911 and let the professionals handle the incident. I don't expect any serious legal problems for the homeowner, but this is where a liability insurance policy that protects gun owners is really valuable. Homeowners insurance covers accidents rather than intentional acts like shooting an intruder. The Concealed Carry Association and several others offer these plans. I understand the NRA is revamping their program after being accused of selling murder insurance in a New York City lawsuit. The NRA is in trouble. They got sued in New York City. The actual wording of that lawsuit by New York City, the mayor, the city council, was that they were selling insurance for murderers. It comes from a case where they paid for the legal defense of somebody who was likely going to be or was convicted of a murder charge. So they're being sued for defending a murderer under the way the New York law reads. They're looking at redoing their system, but right now the NRA does not offer the insurance we're talking about. So we're kind of limited to the Concealed Carry Association. You can find them on the internet very easily, Concealed Carry Association, just search it. We're going to break here for a word from a few of our friends and associates. Don't go away. This is a reminder to all our listeners. Keystone Corporation, it's a conservative organization that I'm on their board of directors, is having their annual dinner on Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. The featured speaker is Karl Rove. It is at the Venetian Hotel. For information, you can visit online to www.keystonenevada.com and get all the information. Tables are available for groups, and Karl Rove is an amazing commentator. You don't want to miss this. It is going to be the conservative event of the year. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. We're back, as promised. Fox 2 TV in Detroit, Michigan reported on July 1, 2020, a fatal shooting in downtown Detroit, Tuesday night. Tuesday night shows how quickly things can go bad during a road rage altercation. A 34-year-old man got into an argument with a couple riding their bikes on Jefferson in front of the Renaissance Center. Detroit police say the man in an SUV was upset with the cyclists riding on Jefferson. He shouted at them, and one of the cyclists shouted back, prompting the man to get out of the SUV and confront the vocal cyclist with a knife. The cyclist's girlfriend, who was armed, had a concealed carry permit, fired a single shot, killing the man. Detroit police placed her under arrest. Attorney and firearms expert, name of Terry Johnson, said he believes the shooting was justified. Police sources also say they believe this was likely a case of justifiable homicide, that the woman had the legal right to use lethal force. The Wayne County Prosecutor's Office will, of course, have the final say on any charges. This firearms attorney, Terry Johnson, added that realistically she has a right to protect herself, but under Michigan law, she has the right to protect others as well. Just the fact that the other person had a knife and she had a gun doesn't matter. Just the mere fact her boyfriend was in imminent fear of death or great bodily harm at the particular time, she had the right to use lethal force. Police say footage of security cameras from a local business are believed to have recorded the incident and will be used to investigate as the investigation continues. My comments here, this could be a really tough case. If the attorney proves correct, the possible civil lawsuit will consider if you had to shoot rather than could you shoot. It's always better if you can avoid the confrontation. That is always the best choice. The question will be, why didn't you just pedal away? That could be really tough to answer in front of a judge or jury. The question is going to be really tough when this case goes to trial in a civil suit. This next story comes from Oklahoma News 9, reported July 3rd this year, 2020, in northwest Oklahoma City. The police department said a pregnant woman shot an alleged intruder on Friday. Police say it happened in the 6300 block of Danish Drive. The woman told police a man she didn't know knocked on her door, but she did not answer. Police say the woman later took her dog out for a walk, and when she went back to her apartment, the suspect returned and tried to force his way inside. Police say the woman retrieved a gun and shot the suspect in the shoulder. He was taken into custody. Authorities said the woman was uninjured. No names have been released in this case at all. This is another example why homeowners need to keep a firearm for self-defense. The guy may have been at the wrong home or on the wrong block, but once he forces entry, time for explanation is over. Since I retired, the calls I get from liberal anti-gun types asking what type of gun to get is a bit surprising. Most feel they are safe with a gun because they are smarter than the great unwashed masses like the rest of us. I think the truth is they fear criminals now that they help keep them all out of prison. You're all aware of those folks. They're all over TV all the time. We're going to break now for another brief word from some of our friends and associates. Don't go away. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man, Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. This is a reminder to all our listeners. Keystone Corporation, it's a conservative organization that I'm on their board of directors, is having their annual dinner on Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. The featured speaker is Karl Rove. It is at the Venetian Hotel. For information, you can visit online to www.keystonenevada.com and get all the information. Tables are available for groups, and Karl Rove is an amazing commentator. You don't want to miss this. It is going to be the conservative event of the year. And we're back again. This next story is from the Steamboat Pilot. Reporter named Lisa Schlichtman reported June 19, 2020 in Routt County, Colorado. That's R-O-U-T-T, County, Colorado. Deputies responded to a call that a 14-year-old male had shot his stepfather with a .22 rifle about 8:15 in the evening in the Buffalo Pass area. Nearby campers reported to law enforcement that the mother and the 57-year-old stepfather had been arguing all afternoon and appeared to have been drinking. Other campers also reported witnessing what appeared to be a struggle between the man and the woman. The mom wanted to leave the campsite with her son and go to Steamboat Springs. She went into the tent to retrieve her computer when presumably a physical fight ensued. The stepfather ended up pushing his wife down and getting on top of her. The stepson saw his mother in a fetal position with the stepfather on top of her and yelled for him to get off of her. The stepfather refused, and the son retrieved a .22 caliber rifle from a vehicle and fired a warning shot. When the fighting continued, the stepson shot his father in the back. The 14-year-old stepson then called 911. According to Sheriff Garrett Wiggins, the man was flown from the scene to a medical facility in Loveland, but later died. Sheriff Wiggins says the case is currently under investigation and no charges have been filed. An autopsy on the deceased was being performed today, the next day. They are from Routt County area, and the names of those involved are not being released at this time, understandably. Drinking, domestic fighting, and guns is kind of a bad combination. Clearly a horrible event. The 14-year-old shooter will certainly not face any charges. His warning shot was a good idea in this case. Sometimes they work and are relatively safe when used in the great outdoors. The stepfather appears to hold all the blame for this incident, and of course he paid the price for that with his life. A really tragic story. I can't imagine what that young man is going to go through. It's just tough. I don't want to digress too far into that. I'm not a psychologist or a lawyer, but seen way too much of that. This sixth story comes from the Indianapolis Star. Reporter named Vic Reichert reported June 29, 2020 in Indianapolis, Indiana, a 14-year-old boy was shot as he tried to rob someone near the downtown Canal Walkway. The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department officer Simone Burris said in an email to the Indy Star, according to investigators, it appears the 16-year-old was trying to rob the alleged shooter. The incident happened shortly after 2 in the morning in the 600 block of Ellsworth Street, which is on the canal north of West Michigan Street at Indiana Avenue. If you know where that is, I hope that helped. Officers found the 14-year-old wounded by apparent gunshots. The medics took him to an area hospital where he later died. The shooting suspect remained at the scene and cooperated with investigators. Burris said the police also interviewed several other witnesses. A large group of juveniles were in the area at the time of the shooting. Officers were already patrolling nearby after receiving multiple disturbance calls. The Marion County Coroner's Office on Monday identified the boy as a local. Officer Burris said the detectives were collecting evidence and reviewing video that may have been captured of the shooting. There were more than a dozen shootings over the weekend. Homicides are up 40% in IMPD's patrol area compared with this time last year. There have been 107 homicides in 2020. 91 are being investigated as criminal cases. The other 16 are believed to be non-criminal homicides, such as self-defense or accidental shootings. By July 29, 2019, there were 76 total homicides, 66 ruled criminal, and 10 not to be criminal acts. A lot of future crimes were likely eliminated by the death of this juvenile. That being said, it would clearly be better to have gotten him into the system to receive counseling with at least a chance of setting him on the right path. The shooter will second guess him or herself as to what they could have done differently. That will be boosted by the lawsuits, which will inevitably need to be defended. I have often said on these shows, you can survive a gunfight, but in reality, no one ever really wins. If you can avoid them, do that. You can check out our recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen recent episodes. Please patronize our friends and supporters. We'll be back next Thursday on our website, firedupwithboberwin.com, on YouTube at the American Guns and Glory Network, and numerous other websites, television, and radio stations. While watching any media, just click on subscribe, and new shows will be sent to your computer automatically. Our logo merchandise, hats and shirts and books are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. An amazing place. If you've never been there, you have to go by Battlefield Vegas. It's on the corner of Circus Circus and Sammy Davis Drive. It's directly behind the Circus Circus Hotel, so you can't miss it if you're driving up or down the Strip. Remember, the audio portion is repeated on the Nevada Talk Network all across the state on Saturdays at noon. Check out all our stations at KELY1230.com. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you so much for supporting Fired Up. I do appreciate you. Take care.